What's going on, everybody? It's Joel here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Reebok Nano 2.0 Remake. The Nano 2.0s were my very first pair of CrossFit shoes all the way back in the day when I started in 2012. Throughout the years, I have used these shoes for just about anything that you could think of in the CrossFit and training spectrum. These are some of the most versatile training shoes ever produced, and they are a fan favorite for a reason. Throughout the years, they've had a few re-releases, most recently back in 2018 with the black and gum pack. There were a few colorways that year as well, but I think the most popular one was the black and gum one. This year in 2023, we don't get a one-for-one re-release. We actually have a remake of the shoe because the factory that had originally produced the Nano 2 was not available anymore. So they had to rebuild the Nano 2.0 from the ground up, and honestly, they did a really good job. There are some differences that we're going to talk about today, but for the most part, this one stays a lot more true to the source material than the 2020 Nano U form. But before we get into it, a quick message from the sponsor of today's video, which is Western Rise. As an active dad, I'm always looking for comfortable and versatile clothing to keep up with my toddler, and Western Rise is one of my closet's staples. Right now, they're celebrating their anniversary with a huge sale where you can save up to 40% off most of their items. I would recommend checking out their AT pants. Those are some of my most favorite pants to wear from any brand because of how comfortable and how versatile they are. You can wear them casually, you can wear them while you're out. They're super durable, they have a DWR finish, and they have plenty of mobility when you're trying to run around and catch a 4-year-old. So whether you're planning a weekend adventure or you're just trying to keep up with the toddler, I highly recommend that you check out Western Rise's sale. But anyways, now that that's out of the way, back to what you guys are all here for, and that's the Nano 2.0s. So like I said before, the Nano 2.0s are not a one-for-one re-release of the original models, but they are really close. And if you didn't have an original pair to compare with, you probably never even noticed the differences between the two shoes. So first off, let's take a look at the differences in upper, and there really aren't that many. We have pretty much the same kind of heavy duty nylon around the ankle and around the back part of the shoe, where we really see very little in the way of difference. So one of the things that's most noticeable between the two shoes is the heel rake. It comes up a little bit more aggressively on the remaster than on the original model. And that actually is a change for the better because it helps keep your heels more secure and in place, and it does not rub up against your Achilles. So don't worry about that giving you any kind of Nano 11 problems. Coming around to the toe box, the Nano 2.0 2023 model has a slightly wider shape to it in the metatarsal area. And that's a welcome change I think a lot of people are gonna like. Now, one thing that people might not like is that the toe is a little bit flatter on the 2023 model. So you can see that it doesn't come to quite the same point as the original Nano 2.0. And I think some people are gonna like that and some people are not gonna like that as much. The Nano 2023s are a little bit shorter in length than the original models were. So if you were somebody that was in between sizes, you might actually have to size up with this year's model. The toe box materials are pretty much the same exact thing. You have the open hole mesh around your toes, which I think is a little bit more breathable on the 2023 model. And then you still have that kind of like felt-ish material that's around the metatarsals. And that initially doesn't seem like it would be all that durable, but I can assure you that that has held up just fine with all my Nanos throughout the years. Another immediate change that you'll probably notice is that the DuraGrip toe cap on the Nano 2023s is a little bit bigger than it was before. And that I think is also a change for the better. It gives you a little bit more protection. It gives you something to run into the floor when you're getting up for burpees. And it also makes it so that the front part of the shoe doesn't crumple quite as much. as the original models did. So now taking a look at the middle part of the shoe, the Nano 2023s actually have a more pronounced webbing on the lateral and the medial side. And while it looks like there would be a little bit more support there, I didn't really notice any kind of difference when I had the shoes on. And one of the most welcome changes to the Nano 2.0 2023 model is the tongue construction. So the original Nano 2.0 had an issue where the tongue would want to slide to the sides, whereas on the 2023 model, the tongue actually just wants to stay a little bit better in place. It has a slightly different shape to it. It's a little bit more angular, and it is actually a little bit taller than the original tongue. So you can actually see the original tongue wants to slide to the side. With the 2023 model, it doesn't do that. I did 100 burpee box jump overs and I didn't notice it happening. So I don't think that that's going to be an issue with this year's updated model, though it is not gusseted on the sides of the shoe. The insole of the 2023 model is still glued in, and I'm trying to rip it out here, but I don't want to like destroy it or anything. But it's pretty much the same insole that was in the original model. If you had to rip it out for custom orthotics, you could definitely do that, but it's just not going to go in the same way as you originally had it. So taking a look at the midsole of the Nano 2.0s, it's really nothing special, but it gets the job done. There's not a ton of cushioning. These are a pretty minimal training shoe, and that's kind of like the beauty of them. There's really nothing to get in the way of lifting, but if you're somebody that runs a little bit harder, heel strikes, you might have some issues with impact with these shoes on. So taking a look at the bottom of the shoe, the traction pattern has not changed at all between the original models on my right and the re-releases on my left. The only differences that I could maybe spot is that the material on the 2023 model in this gum colorway feels like it's a little bit tackier, a little bit harder wearing, but the difference there would be pretty minute. These shoes have excellent grip, excellent ground feel. The traction pattern is a little bit more blocky at the middle part of the shoe, flattens out at the heel, and then becomes a little bit finer at the toe. And then it raises up on the lateral and the medial sides of the shoe to give you that traction for when you're climbing ropes, which these shoes do a good enough job with. I'm not gonna say that these are the best rope climbing shoes of all time, but they are certainly capable of climbing ropes. And while the durability is yet to be seen on these, they should hold up just fine. The only spot on the original shoes that was an issue with durability was this knob right here would come peeling away after some rope climbs. So that we'll just have to wait and see with the 2023 model. Another thing that I really appreciate Reebok not changing with these shoes is the fact that they are extremely lightweight training shoes. I clocked a men's size 10 in at 10.04 ounces compared to the original 10 ounces on the dot. All right, so when it comes to sizing the Nano 2.0 2023, I got these in a size 10, which is my typical Reebok size. For Nike nowadays, I'm wearing 10.5. And with these shoes, I find that they run a little bit smaller. And that is because I think the heel rake and the slightly flatter toe box. If your Nano 2.0s fit perfectly before, I'm probably gonna recommend that you go with a half size up. That also applies to people that have Morton's toe like myself. My second toe is my longest toe and it runs into the front of these shoes. So going forward with the Nano 2023 models, I'm probably gonna get these in a size 10.5. And I would recommend that if you have Morton's toe, that's probably gonna be a good idea to go a half size up with this model. If you don't have Morton's toe or you already had a little bit of space in your Nano 2.0s from before, then I would stick with your normal true to size and they should fit just fine. So for reference, I'm wearing a size 10 in my Nano 13s. I also wear a size 10 in my Nano 12s, but can wear a size 9.5. With my Nano 10s, I wore a size 10.5, and with my Nano 9s, I wore a size 10. And with pretty much all of my Nike shoes, I'm wearing a size 10.5. If you were somebody that was looking for a wide pair of training shoes, you have found it in the Nano 2s. These are some of the widest toe box training shoes without being a barefoot shoe. I think these shoes are gonna fit a multitude of people just fine. And if I had to pick out a pair of the widest training shoes at the moment, they would definitely be the Nano 2.0s. Okay, so the beauty of these shoes is that they do everything really well and they don't suck for anything. You could put these on, you could go run a mile, albeit they're still minimal shoes, so they don't have a ton of cushioning, but they are plenty flexible. And I think the cushioning that they do have is good enough. Though I will say that the 2023 models do feel a little bit stiffer and without as much cushioning as the original Nano 2s have. The difference though is very, very small. You'd pretty much have to have both shoes on side by side to be able to tell any difference. Personally, I really love running in these shoes. I think they have enough cushion for me personally. I'm obviously not gonna run, 10 miles in these shoes or anything, but I feel like these should be comfortable for up to 3 miles. The flexibility of these shoes is excellent. They're very, very breathable. And the amount of cushioning that they do have is plenty for a midfoot striker like myself. One of my test WODs with these shoes was 100 burpee box jump overs 4 times. And after a workout like that, anybody's feet are gonna be burning up. It doesn't matter what shoe you wear. And with these shoes, my feet were on fire after that workout, but it could have been worse. And I think if I were to pick any shoe to do that kind of workout in, the Nano 2s would probably be at the top of my list. They have enough cushioning, they're lightweight, the grip is fine, and they have plenty of ground feel, so I'm never breaking my pace when it comes to those burpees. And another minor change that I found with these shoes is that the rubber at the very point of the toe is actually a little bit taller. So that gave me a slight assist for getting up from those burpees. If there was one area where the Nano 2.0s kind of show their age in, it's that they're not the most stable training shoes. I mean, you gotta think back to when pretty much nobody was snatching 315 at the CrossFit Games. And 315 clean and jerk, that was a heavy, heavy weight at the time. You were a stud if you were cleaning 225 back in the day at my gym. And throughout the years, we've seen more of an emphasis being put on stability in training shoes. I'm not saying that these shoes are unstable. I think for the majority of people out there, these are gonna be plenty stable. They're gonna handle most of the weights you're gonna throw at them. And if you are a more seasoned CrossFitter, you're gonna find lifting in the Nano 2.0s just fine and probably better than how you felt they were back in 2012 because you're probably better at CrossFit nowadays. These at their core are a minimalist training shoe. So the ground contact is very flat and direct. There's really no midsole to get in the way of power delivery. If you were looking for a shoe to powerlift in, I think that these would still be a great option. They only have a 4mm drop, so that's really not gonna get in the way of heavier deadlifts. The only people that I'd say should stay away from the Nano 2.0s for lifting are really almost like novice lifters that don't quite have the same body control or mobility that somebody that is a little bit more seasoned in training. But honestly, I'm just kind of nitpicking here because really, I don't think anybody can do any wrong when it comes to lifting in these shoes. They're not as stable as shoes nowadays, but they really don't need to be. And if you were somebody that just wore lifters for heavier lifts anyways, then I would say the Nano 2.0s are gonna complement those shoes perfectly. All right, so the Nano 2023s retail for $120. That is their original retail price back from when they first came out in 2012. And if you ask me, I still think they are worth every penny of that $120. Did these shoes hold up over the last 10 years? I think they did. These shoes are still some of the most competent training shoes that you could get a hold of. They do everything that you need them to do very well without any huge glaring faults. And that's really what you're looking for in a CrossFit shoe nowadays. Like I said, if there was anything that I could nitpick about these shoes, it's that they're just not as stable as some of the more current weightlifting shoes, mainly due to the part that people nowadays are just lifting way more and way heavier. But I think for the majority of people looking to buy these shoes, whether there's somebody that owned them back in the day and really loved them, or somebody that's a little bit newer to training, newer to CrossFit, and wants to know what all the hype is about. I think that these are a must-have for just about everybody nowadays if you're looking for a training shoe. And while they're not one-for-one re-releases, Reebok did a really good job in making sure that these stayed very true to the original models. And if you were a fan, I don't think that you're gonna find anything to dislike about the current Nano 2.0s. Training in these is almost like a breath of fresh air. Nowadays, a lot of training shoes almost have too much going on. And the Nano 2.0 just goes to show that you don't really need all that much in a training shoe. You just need something that's lightweight, stable enough, has great ground feel, and is decently durable. So if you guys have any questions about the Nano 2.0 in 2023, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And as always guys, please hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching.